Turn me up just a little bit. Yeah, it's that man space vibe. Step in the zone, microphone check. Russ and Les got the real intellect. Talk smooth like jazz on a late night set. With a convo deep and the topics connect. From the struggles to the wins, they address it with grace. Drop lines so cool, you can feel the bass. Two kings of the craft, and you know the rest. Kick back, poetry, welcome to the space. You go chillin' with Russ and Les. You go chillin' with Russ and Les. You go chillin' with Russ and Les. Hang out, cause now you vibing with nothing but the best. Space forever.
Welcome into another edition of the Man Space Podcast. This is the voice of Russ, and with me, as always, well, he's not here. After watching this past week's national championship game, he decided that he's going to go back to college just to see if he still has some more eligibility left. We know Indiana likes him old, so we're going to go say that Les has a good shot of making the team there. But Manspace Nation, don't worry. I have a special guest that is joining me. But I got a question for you guys. Have you ever thought about having to take care of your parents or even your grandparents? You know, as a parent, your number one concern is to take care of your children. But what happens if you have to be that caregiver for now your parents or even your grandparents, man? That's kind of a tough situation. And as one I've kind of been thinking about, Mama Russ turns 82 next month. And so it's been like in the back of my mind. My wife and I have been talking about it for years. One day, that decision will have to be made. And I'm not sure how I would handle that. But my guest today is dealing with that. He became a primary caregiver for his grandmother. And I've invited him into the Man Space because this man's journey, man, he's got hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok and on YouTube with his site, Taking Care of Granny. And what makes his story powerful isn't just what he shares or why he shares it. It's the exhaustion, the patience, the quiet moments, but it's the caregiving role that millions have sat there and just watched and applauded and just fell in love with him and his grandmother. And we wanted to bring him on the show to share his story. Manspace Nation, please give it up for my guest today, Mr. Dugan Meredith.
Hey, Russ.
Hey, welcome into the show. Right off the bat, man, can you share with the Manspace Nation just who you are and why we brought you onto this show?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, let me say thank you for allowing me to come on here. I am a new listener to your podcast, but I am enjoying
Thank
it
you very much.
I will say, y'all refer. I believe everybody referred to him as Coach Cujo
Yes.
on one of the
Yes.
sessions I was listening to. Is
Mhm.
very, very good at this. So I'm not going to
Yes.
be as good as he was. Because he had me ready to just pull the car over, get out, and run through a brick wall. I mean,
Coach is amazing.
He was amazing. And one of the things that he said that I've taken to really, because looking back, and I know we'll get into this, it really applies to a lot of my life, and I just didn't realize it, was he emphasized the don't see obstacles, see opportunities.
Yes, absolutely.
And that hit home with me. And it was one of those moments driving down the road where I'm like, it makes total sense. Like, how have I not heard this or even thought about this prior to this man saying it? So, kudos to Coach Cujo, and I thoroughly enjoyed that one. So,
Yes.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dugan Meredith. I live in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I'm going to be turning 48 this year. I am a proud father, husband. I am a brand new grandfather. We just had our
Yes.
first grandson Monday.
Yes. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. He's perfect. He is
Yeah.
just absolutely perfect. Weighed in 7 pounds and 7 ounces, so he was not a tiny baby. But
Yeah.
he has me wrapped around his finger already, and he's not
Already.
even a week
Yes.
old. But that's a little bit about myself. I did spend, as far as any type of employment goes, I've done my fair share. I've been a small business owner. I've,
Mhm.
worked my way up through the ranks. I've worked for some of the largest companies in America. And I recently, this past year, decided that for my own mental health, it was best that I take a step back and leave corporate America. And I find myself now with a small company, again, a small business, and I
Okay.
absolutely love it. Like it's done wonders for me mentally, and mental
Yeah.
health is very important in today's time.
Extremely important. It's extremely important. We just don't understand a lot of times, especially as men, because we take it upon ourselves because we're supposed to be the breadwinners. We're supposed to be the strong ones. So we're supposed to just suck it up and deal with it. We don't realize how much stress that we have to deal with, especially when you deal with everything that's going on in your family life.
Mhm.
The stress of just trying to manage a 9 to 5 job, and it's really not even a 9 to 5. It's longer than that.
It is.
And it's a lot of times it's a thankless job, especially in corporate
Mhm.
America, because you realize how much of just a number you are, but you're
Mhm.
so dedicated and determined just because you need to put food on the table.
Mhm.
So I applaud you for realizing that you needed to put yourself first and take care of your own mental health, because burnout is one of those things that's
Mhm.
very real with men, and it's tough.
It is. And unfortunately, I've lost some good friends,
Mhm.
to mental health. Um, and I found myself getting in a dark place when it came to work. It got to
Yeah.
the point where my stomach would hurt on Sunday at the thought of going to work on
Mhm.
Monday.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy. And then you'll also see it where you have a bad day at work and you just can't lay it down. And then you bring it
Mhm.
home. And next thing you know,
Yep.
you're arguing with your wife, you're arguing with your
That's right.
kids. And because it doesn't take much for them to set you off at that point,
That's right.
because
That's right.
dealing when you're dealing in, say, customer service and dealing with the public all day, I mean,
Mm.
you can't say how you really feel. And so
That's
then when
right.
you get home, your family
Mhm.
becomes the easy target.
That's right. Yep. Yep. Been there, man. I remember working at a place where I worked there for about 16 years, and probably like the last four, anytime I saw the building, I would just get a migraine. And even after I left there, like for the first probably year, if I just saw the
Mhm,
building, I would get migraines. So if I had to
mhm,
go, any type of trip past that area, I would take a detour and go around the building so I didn't have to see
mhm,
it. And it's finally just over the last couple of years, I've been away from there for about 6 years now.
mhm,
And just over the last year, it just finally got to the point where I can ride past the building and not feel sick anymore. You
mhm,
know, that burnout
mhm.
is real.
It is. And it'll put you in a dark place mentally,
Yeah.
and it took a lot to crawl out of that. But you have to
Mhm.
do a lot of inner searching when
Yeah.
you're going through it. And
Mhm.
you like I remember the day when I decided, all right, I'm finished with corporate America.
Yeah.
I had had a rough day. I was sitting here in
Mhm.
front of my laptop. I just got off a one-on-one call with like the VP of sales,
Mhm.
and he talked to me like I was just trash.
Yeah.
And when the virtual call ended, I just slammed my laptop shut. I walked outside and just screamed to the top of my lungs. And
Mhm.
I just got it all out, all my frustrations. I sat down and I just sat in a chair, and I asked myself, I was like, what do I need to do to find happiness especially in my career.
Right.
And I soul searched and I soul searched and I asked myself this question, I asked myself that question, and eventually I figured it out. And it was working at corporate America. Now, listen, I've got nothing against corporate America. There's people
Right.
that thrive in that environment.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I had to come to the realization it wasn't meant for me. And I needed to do something to get my mental state back right because we were facing other challenges, which I know we're going to talk about here very shortly.
Yeah.
And I needed to get to the point where work was not affecting me mentally, especially when I got it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Absolutely.
I put my trust in God, and He's taking care of us.
Absolutely. I love that. Love that. So making that change into, I guess, the smaller corporation and taking that step back, like what was the conversation like with your wife when you made that choice?
I had, full disclosure, I had changed jobs quite a few times in the last few
Uh-huh.
years because I was
Okay.
struggling to find happiness.
Mhm.
And my wife, when I talked to my wife about it and I told her I had this opportunity to downsize, so to speak,
Mhm.
she was a little hesitant. And she was like, "Look, baby, I just want you to be happy." She's like, "You
Yeah.
have not been happy in a long time. You do whatever it's going to take for you to be happy, but you have to understand you can't keep changing jobs like this." And I said, I know it looks bad,
Right.
especially on a resume, but I really
Mhm.
truly believe in my heart that this is where the good Lord wants me to go. And,
Mhm.
this is the path that I had to go down to get to where the Lord wanted me to be.
Mm.
So I
You
had to sell my
know,
wife on it.
but it's one thing when you make those decisions and your spouse is supportive of it. She
Mhm.
may question and make sure that you're doing
Right.
it for the right reasons, but when they're supportive,
Mhm.
it makes all the difference in the world.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one, I, my wife is probably one of the, not probably, she is one of the greatest women I've ever met
Yeah.
because as much as we're polar opposites, I mean, polar opposites,
Mhm.
she will, even our best friends, we laugh and we joke about it all the time. They talk about how
Yeah.
that woman loves you so much. She will defend you,
Yeah.
even if you're 100% in the wrong. She will defend you to anybody out there. And
Mhm.
she can be stubborn at times, and so can I.
Yeah.
But like I said, she is who the good Lord wanted me to be with. And it was a long road to get to where we're at, but we're
Mhm.
here. We're thriving. We have our good days. We have our bad days, just like any marriage.
Anyway, yeah.
But she's 100% supported me in everything I've ever tried to do. And for that,
That
I'll always be grateful.
that is so awesome. That is so awesome. That's a beautiful thing. That is
Yeah.
an absolutely beautiful thing. So I have a little question for you.
Okay.
And you and I have actually spoken about this. Uh, I'm going to peel the curtain back a little bit to
Okay.
Man Space Nation. Uh, Dugan and I, we sat down and had breakfast one day at a restaurant, and he did something that I had never seen before.
I know exactly where you're going now.
And so I want to have this conversation, but we're gonna do this. This is the first time I've ever done this as a guest food alert. So we're gonna do a little food alert here.
Food alert. Food alert. The Misfits podcast is talking about food again. Food alert. Food alert.
So as we were sitting down having breakfast, he orders grits and he gets grape jelly and puts in the grits. I have never seen this a day in my life. Can you
Mhm.
explain this one to the Man Space Nation? I was so intrigued by this, and I hate that Les is not here because I really wanted to get his reaction to this.
So I get questioned about that all the time because anywhere where
Yeah.
I go where I get grits, I can't eat them unless they have grape jelly in them. And it's not strawberry jam, nothing else. It's strictly grape jelly.
So
Like when I mix
have
it
you
up,
tried it with other jelly though?
yes, I have.
So it has to be grape. Okay. All
Has to
right.
be grape. My
Mhm.
grits, I have to stir it until my grits turn purple. If my grits aren't purple, I can't eat it. And where it came from, I don't know. I just remember eating it as a kid, and
Wow.
I fell in love with it. And here I am, going to be 48 years old this year, and I
Wow.
just had grits the other day, and somebody looked at me funny as I was stirring in my grape jelly. But if it's a if it's a business meeting, it makes for
Yeah.
a great icebreaker. Because they're always like, "What are you doing?" And I'm
Right.
like, "You've never had grape jelly in your grits?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
don't knock it until you try it." Because I think the reason why I like it is because it gives it that sweet and
Does it
salty
say?
flavor to it.
Yeah. So I know when I was in the army, my battle buddy would always put sugar in his grits.
Mhm.
And he says, "Yeah, it just makes it taste like cream of wheat." And it was anything that we could do to make the food taste better. Sure. So sure,
Right.
I did put sugar in my grits back in the army, but the minute I got back out on my own again, I was like, nope, don't do it anymore.
Yep.
So I've not done that since. But this was a new one on me. And I've seen people like my wife, she'll put brown sugar in her grits sometimes. She
Mhm.
she doesn't do it all the time, but random times she'll put brown sugar in there. So I'm assuming it's the same type of effect because of the sweetness, but that one just threw me. I've never in my life had seen that before.
Now, here's the question for you, Russ, because
Yeah.
that was a few weeks ago. Have you tried
Mhm.
it yet?
I have not.
Okay.
I honestly have not. And I thought about that all day today. I'm like, yep, I gotta bring this up, but I have not tried it. And I do have some grape jelly downstairs. It might be something, we have this big ice storm coming over the weekend. So we're probably gonna be barricaded in for a few
Right.
days. So it might be something that gets tried as long as I have power.
Yes.
I might try it and just see. I'll let you know, but
Well, you film it. I want to see your reaction and you send it to me because I want to see
yeah.
if you genuinely like it or not.
Okay. You know what? I will do that. I will film it and I will definitely send that to you. But something else we're gonna do real quick before we get into the heavy today. I want to do a quick game with you, and it is called Lightning Round. Lightning Round. All right. So here in Lightning Round, I'm just gonna give you a question, and you just say the first thing that comes to mind. You're gonna have about 60 seconds. Pineapple on pizza.
I've had it and I didn't like it.
Okay. What's your most used emoji?
The laughing face.
What's a food that you love that everyone else seems to hate?
Liver mush.
Ooh, nice. What is a totally useless talent that you have?
I used to be a semi-professional arm wrestler.
Oh. First thing you do when you wake up in the morning, be honest.
Pete.
What's a movie that you've seen way too many times?
The Shawshank Redemption.
Last thing you Googled.
How to get on this podcast.
Favorite city to visit?
Does that mean I've been there? So yeah, so I've been there
Yes.
before.
Yes.
Cherokee, North Carolina.
I like Cherokee. Cherokee is very nice.
Hmm.
That was one place I used to go there probably once every 2 months and just go
Hmm.
hang out there. Man.
Hmm.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back with our special guest, Dugan Meredith, and more of the Man Space Podcast. right, Dugan. Welcome back to the Man Space Podcast. We are here with our special guest, Dugan Meredith, Man Space Nation. You need to check out his site on TikTok and on YouTube, Taking Care of Granny. Now, first of all, on your site, you document the journey of your grandmother who's dealing with Alzheimer's. What was the decision to start documenting this journey?
That's a great question. And let me also say that it's my mother-in-law. Everybody does think that she's my grandmother, but she's actually my
Okay.
mother-in-law. Yep, everybody thinks
Okay.
she's my grandmother. And then it's on TikTok and Facebook. That's the two
Okay.
platforms you can currently find it on. But to answer that question, she was diagnosed in, I'm thinking it was late 2020 with front temporal dementia, FTD. Is the acronym for it, which is the same type of dementia that Bruce Willis has.
Yeah.
And at the time, she wasn't living with us. She was living with my wife's older sister.
Okay.
And her older sister, told my wife and the younger sister, "Hey, I'm gonna need you two to step up and take care of Mama. I spent the last 10 years taking care of," at the time it was their grandmother before she passed. And my wife come to me one day in the kitchen and, was telling me, what happened and what Granny's diagnosis was and all that, and asked that she come live with us. And I immediately was like, "Well, no, hold on. Before
Right.
before I can commit to this, we need to talk about it, because
Right.
I've never dealt with dementia personally.
Right.
I'd only ever known of one person in my life having it. I didn't see the effects of it, but I had seen other, shows and stuff about it. So I knew how challenging it could be. I thought I knew how challenging it could be. And so I tried to play, defense, and was trying to talk her out of it. And she told me, she said, "I don't think it's too much to ask my family to help take care of my mama." And at that point, I was like, "Okay, honey, you've supported me in everything I've done, so I've got to support you with this."
Yeah. Wow. So how was the when you look at the changes over time? So my assumption is that you were married to her prior to her becoming diagnosed with this.
Yes. My wife and I were married in 2008. From my wife and myself, it's both our second marriage. But I knew Granny, as soon as I started dating my wife.
Okay. So you had, memories of how she was prior to. So explain like how she was prior to, starting to show the symptoms.
Yep. So if you had to describe an old Southern belle, I think is how someone described her one time. She's just a little old lady, and when she walks in the room, she wants to be the center of attention. Someone once referred to her. You ever watched the show Golden Girls, Russ?
Yes.
Blanche on Golden
Yeah.
Girls.
Oh, yeah. Blanche.
That's how everybody. Yep, that's how everybody says. They're like, "That's not Granny, that's Blanche from Golden Girls."
Yeah.
But she was always the center of attention, always joking, always smiling, and was a huge advocate for taking care of others. I remember the first time I went over to the house to meet her, and we sat down and we ate dinner together and everything. And I like to eat. So 9 times out of 10, I'm not eating just one serving. Like if something's good, I want some more of it. And I'll never forget, like, I stopped eating for just a second, was talking to my girlfriend who became my wife, and Granny comes by and just picks my plate up, takes it, dumps it, and starts washing the dishes and putting it away. And I was like, I wasn't finished yet. So she was big on being, neat and tidy.
Yes.
And was big on taking care of others around her. Like, she always made sure everyone had something to eat. If anybody needed anything, she was right there, Johnny on the spot. So she was all about helping others.
Yeah. I saw the video where you showed her from a couple of years ago and then showed the change
Mhm,
in her.
mhm.
How how drastic of a change has it been? Like, has it slowly been a transition, or was it just like night and day? She's one day she's here, and next day she's
Mhm.
completely overall, on the other side.
Well, for those out there that may not, be familiar with front temporal dementia (FTD),
Mhm.
it primarily affects the cognitive skills.
Okay.
So with Granny, it wasn't so much the short term memory or long term memory loss or anything like that. It was more so the ability to communicate properly. Those were
Mm,
the first things that I saw with her. As
right.
far as the progression went, it wasn't very fast
Okay.
until she somehow or another, we don't know how she did it, but we believe she fell at some point and
Mhm.
she had fractured her leg. We didn't know it
Mm,
was fractured. She was limping. So my wife takes her to two or three doctors. Doctors say,
right.
it's the dementia. The dementia is making
Right.
her act like she's hurt, so she gets
Right.
attention.
Oh,
And that went on for like 2 months. And
yeah.
she's walking around the house limping with a fractured leg. And
Mhm.
finally, a doctor did, and I'm not in the medical field, but they did some kind of specific X-ray of
Yeah.
or scan of some sort and found the fracture. And
Oh
so
my
then they had to
god.
go in and put a screw in. Well,
Mhm.
anytime you have a loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia, if they have to be sedated, put under,
Mm.
there's a really high chance that when they come out, the dementia is going to progress a lot and relatively fast.
Oh.
So she went through that. She had to have surgery. Um,
Mhm.
we saw some changes in her after that, and then it wasn't very
Oh.
long after that. It just maybe a couple weeks. One of her teeth got infected, and so
Mhm.
we had to take her to the dentist. They had to sedate her
Mhm.
again, and obviously,
Ah.
back to back having anesthesia,
Yeah.
we saw the disease progress from that point, and then it slowed down again
Mhm.
and everything become routine again. And it wasn't going that fast until this past November. And
Mhm.
then this past November, she fell. My
Mhm.
wife and I, my wife, myself, and our youngest daughter, because our youngest daughter rodeos for high school, we
Yeah.
went to Georgia for the year end high school rodeo. We were about 4.5 hours from home. And we
Right.
have caregivers who come to the house to sit with her and help take care of her. And she fell. The caregiver witnessed it. She called us. Granny was screaming in pain. Long story short, she ended up fracturing her foot and also fracturing, we know, at least one rib, possibly more.
Oh
And
my god.
so the pain from that just intensified the dementia greatly. And they ended up putting her foot in a cast that went from just below her knee down to her toes. And
Mhm.
it really took away a lot of her freedoms, so to speak,
Yeah.
and her abilities to still do for herself in some ways. And I'm not going to lie, Russ, it was probably a good 2 months that
Mm.
I was like, okay, we're going to jump straight to the end stage here
Yeah. Yeah.
because of the pain that she's in, and going through all this again.
Mhm.
She has since had her cast removed. We have been
Mhm.
slowly getting her back to being a little more independent,
Yeah.
fixing her jelly toast for breakfast,
Mhm.
to going out to the mailbox to check the mail, doing those little things that she can still do. Laundry, she loves to do laundry.
Mhm.
Wash dishes, she can't wash them, but
Right.
we'll wash them and give them to her. She'll dry them and put them away. And
Okay.
so by bringing those routine things, which is crucial with dementia, back into her
Mhm.
life and getting her brain active and focusing on doing tasks that she can do and remember how to
Yeah.
do, has actually helped tremendously. I'm not saying it's slowed the progression down, but she is certainly in a better place now than she was just a little over a month ago.
Wow. How has the impact of this affected like your wife, through all this?
So I mentioned earlier, my wife and I are polar opposites.
Hmm.
She is very strong-willed.
Okay.
She doesn't show a lot of emotion. I see it though. There's
Hmm.
moments where I can see it in her face where it's killing her. Um, but for the most part, she walks around. If you didn't know her, you wouldn't even know she had all this going on in the background. But being her husband and knowing her like I do, I see that it bothers her day in and day out.
Yeah. Wow. What about your children?
That's a really great question. So
Hmm.
at the time Granny moved in, our oldest was still living here,
Hmm.
and then our youngest was here as well. Our oldest has since moved out. I would venture to guess that with Granny being here with dementia, it may have sped up her idea of getting out on her own
Hmm.
because it is tough.
Yeah.
And then the youngest one I've seen where there are moments of frustration in her where she doesn't feel like she's getting the attention she deserves. Because
Mm.
when you have someone with Alzheimer's or dementia living in your home,
Right.
your attention is devoted to them 24/7, three sixty
Right.
five.
Right. Right.
And there's times
Now,
where Sydney will want to go do something and we
right,
just can't do it because of
yeah,
Granny.
yeah, of course, of course. Now, have you noticed mood swings in Granny that, where she's, one minute she's, happy and go lucky, and next minute just anger and resentment, or
So we've been very blessed in the fact that Granny is a very loving dementia patient.
okay,
There's a lot of people out there who get this horrific disease and
yeah,
they become this really mean and cruel person. Granny's
yeah,
not done that. If anything, she's become even more loving. As far as mood swings go, she's either calm or her anxiety skyrockets. And we
mm,
have we have determined, and other people will tell you this, that other caregivers will, that with Alzheimer's and dementia, routine is very key.
right,
And when you deviate from that routine, whether it be the people around them or what they do
yeah,
throughout the day, it will cause their anxiety to skyrocket. So with
mm,
Greenie, it's more so as long as we keep everything routine,
yeah,
she doesn't have mood swings. Now, the second we get out of routine, the anxiety kicks in. And when the anxiety kicks in, that's when it can get really ugly. Now, she does sundown every afternoon.
yeah,
She
okay,
starts typically about 3 o'clock. And for those of you listening who don't know what sundowning is, it is the time of the day where they're done with their day. They're
mhm,
getting their days and their nights confused.
right,
Sometimes they sleep during the day and they're up all night. Granny
mm,
more so starts about 3 o'clock, especially ever since the time change because it started getting darker earlier.
right,
The sun starts going down.
mhm,
Her mind says, I'm done for today. I'm finished. Shut it off. Let's go to bed. And she
yeah,
will start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with, I'm ready to heavy. I'm ready to heavy. Don't, it's one of the words
mm,
she's keyed on. And
yeah,
just from experience, we know she's trying to tell us she's ready to go through her routine so she can go to
yeah,
bed. And a lot of
mhm,
people will criticize us online and say, just let the woman go to bed. Who cares if it's 3 o'clock? Well, we do, because if she goes to
right,
bed at 3, she's going to
right.
be up
She's
all
gonna be
night
up,
long. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I get that. I get that. You know, with the social media side, how do you ignore the criticism?
It took a long time to get to that, brother.
Yeah,
There were times where we went through, your 15 minutes of fame, so to speak.
yeah.
The
Everybody
cancel
loving it.
culture,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
everybody
Okay,
calls
okay.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
where they would pinpoint something in a video and then try to make it something that it's not.
Right,
Um, I have gotten some pretty hateful comments. I have gotten some pretty hateful messages in the past. And it did get to me for a long time. It got
right.
to the kids. Our oldest daughter called here one night just crying over the phone. She's like, I can't believe they're saying this about y'all. And what it was, and people were saying, and I don't know who these people were. They were commenting on the video saying that we were stealing from Granny, that we were financially stealing from her, and we moved in with her, and we were stealing her Social Security and all this stuff, and we're trying to make money off of her online and all this. And I'm like, well, they're so far from the truth, they have no idea what they're talking about, because she moved in with us. This was our house, and we don't touch her money. And any money that we make from documenting on social media goes towards the cost of caring for her.
Yeah. Wow. I got to the point sometimes when I look at the negative comments, I'm just like, go ahead, just keep commenting, because you know what, your comments are going to get more views for me. So go ahead, just comment.
It does. So I do something, and I do this out of spite sometimes. On Facebook. Facebook allows you to do certain things that TikTok doesn't allow you to do. Each social media website, or platform has its own good and its own bad. The one thing I like about Facebook is when someone goes on there and they leave a really hateful, stupid comment, I can hold down on that comment and then pin that comment to the top. So anytime someone goes straight to the comments, that's the first thing they're going to see.
First thing they see. So now
and it drives the interaction. And the followers who truly follow us, they will defend us. I mean, they go to bat for us, and they will wear those people out. And I just sit back and laugh. I'm like, this is why I don't have to respond anymore.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. So, with her diagnosis, what were some of the early on signs that you started to see that made you think that something was actually wrong?
That's actually one of the top questions I get online. And unfortunately, when Granny was first diagnosed, she did not live with us. As I mentioned earlier, she was living with her oldest daughter down in the Charleston area. So I can only tell you things that they've told us. They started talking about the mixing up of the words. And then she would go to drive somewhere and she would forget where she was going. Then she became really, really outgoing and flirtatious towards men. They told us of the story where Granny was actually a caregiver for her own mother. She didn't have Alzheimer's or dementia. She was just, elderly. When she passed, she was like 98, 99 years old.
Yeah.
And they told the story where Granny took, and they called Granny's mom Mimi. Granny took Mimi to the grocery store. Granny met some random guy in there, gave this guy her phone number and address, and invited the guy back to the house.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And luckily, our niece and nephews, a couple of them were home, and they see this guy come in the house, and they immediately call their mom and dad. And, I think their dad came home and asked the guy to leave.
Yeah.
But those were some of the signs. And then I think the thing that she did that really, set it off, where it was like, okay, Mama, we're going to take you and get you tested, was when you think of heating up a can of soup, you put it in a pot on top of the stove and you heat it up.
Yeah.
She wanted to heat up some soup. Well, she gets out a baking pan, pours it in the baking pan, and then puts the pan inside the oven and turns it on 350.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that was when my wife's older sister was like, okay, well, something's definitely wrong.
Something's not right. Something's not right.
Yep.
Wow. So, I've asked about your parents. I asked about your wife. I asked about your children. How are you handling it?
So I'm in a lot better spot now than I was before. I spoke earlier about men's mental health and how working for corporate America was doing me. You mix all that in with being a caregiver for your mother-in-law, who you got along with, but you weren't that tight with, previously. And your first time dealing with dementia, and it was a recipe for disaster. I struggled.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me in the beginning was the repetition of words, just the constant.
Mhm.
When she first moved in, her favorite thing to say was "Holy moly roly." So all day long, Russ, it was "Holy moly
Yeah.
roly, holy moly roly," or humming. She'd be sitting at the
Mm.
table trying to eat, and while she's eating, she's humming, and it was
Mhm.
just driving me bonkers. And I'm like,
Mhm.
why will this woman not stop doing this? I'm talking about it got to the
Right.
point where I wouldn't even eat at the table. I'd get my
Right.
dinner and I'd go sit in the office here or in the bedroom and eat my dinner so I could eat it in peace and quiet. And it was building this resentment in me. And I
Yeah.
was allowing the resentment to be towards Granny, even though I knew it wasn't her fault. It
Right.
started, and I'm not gonna lie, it started, creating challenges with my marriage. I was
Mhm.
not a good husband. It
Mhm.
was driving me to shut down. My wife will
Mhm.
tell you that was one of my biggest things was I would just shut down.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that I got extremely depressed.
Mhm.
And I'm spiritual. I'm a Christian. I'm not a perfect Christian, but I'm not even a good Christian
Right.
most days. But I started doing some soul searching and digging into my faith. And I'm a part of a men's group, and I was able to open up to the guys at the men's group to share,
Yeah.
my experiences and all that. But then the thing that really helped me a lot was on my phone, on my iPhone. At
Mhm.
the time, it was just the notes section. They didn't have the journal app. And I would
Yeah.
just go into the notes and I would basically type out what challenges I went through throughout the day, how they made me feel, and how I handled them. And it
Mhm.
became an outlet for me. And by getting that off my chest onto what you would call a piece of paper or onto your phone, typing it out, it was
Yeah.
helping me relieve some of that stress. So between doing that, the men's group, and then leaning on my
Mhm.
faith, I started digging my way out of that state of depression I was in. I changed the music I listened to. I changed the
Yeah.
TV shows or movies I was watching. You know, I made it a point that I would watch inspirational movies to make me feel good.
Yeah.
Even if it made me cry, it was like I just needed to feel that
Yeah.
emotion instead of just this ball of anger I felt like that was inside of me.
Right. 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 A lot of times I think that we as men don't understand how all that plays into, with the music that you listen to or the TV shows that you watch, even the people that you're around and the conversations that are being held around you. You
Mhm,
don't really understand how that's actually feeding your mind and how you
mhm,
think.
mhm,
You may think like, oh, oh, that's just a TV show. Or, I don't really, but no, that's feeding you. And that's
mhm,
playing into your psyche
mhm.
and plays a lot into your mental wellness, man. So
Yeah,
I applaud you for
100%
making a
Russ.
change because a lot of us we don't have those outlets and finding that men's group for one,
Mhm,
and then even with the journaling that you're doing,
mhm,
uh, man, a lot of us don't even take that step. I mean, I had stress days myself where I would try to journal and I'd write for a couple days, and then after that, I was done. I wouldn't write anymore, and
mhm,
then it'd be like 6 months later, and I'd write something else, and I'd never get back to it, But
mhm,
finding that outlet, man, um, I think so many of us have to really find that creative outlet some kind of way. And that's what this show really became for me,
mhm,
with because Les is one of my closest friends, even though when he's not here, you know, uh, doing this show was one of those things like, man, I get to sit here and talk with one of my closest friends for an hour and we joke
mhm,
around and we have fun and just really get stuff off our chest.
mhm,
And it works. So having that outlet, it's helped me, and I know that we've been able to help a lot of people across the world, with doing this show, because we get messages from time to time with people chiming in like, hey, and that show, and that was really uplifting. That really helped me. And just having that little outlet, man, because you can really just let all this stuff weigh on you and wear you down and just continue to beat you down. And just like a balloon, you keep adding in, it's gonna burst one day.
It will.
So
My lowest point, I'll never
Mhm.
forget it. My lowest point was I'd reached my boiling point, and I remember I was arguing with my wife. I walked back to the bedroom. She was sitting on the bed. Our oldest daughter was sitting on the bed, and I looked at my wife and I said, "I can't do this anymore. I can't live in the same house as your mama." I was like, "You need to pick. It's either your mom or me. One of us has to go. And if it's me, I'm okay with it. Just tell me that." And I stormed off, jumped in my truck, took off down the road. I've never done that during our marriage. And I drove probably 5-6 miles away, pulled over at a volunteer fire department parking lot, sat there to gather my thoughts, and called one of my good friends from the Brotherhood, from the men's group I'm a part of. And that's one of the things we thrive on is we call each other. In our darkest moments, we call each other. And we will answer the phone. And I talked to him, and his name was Scott. And I was like, "Scott, here's what happened. I'm frustrated." And I was banking on him telling me, "I understand, man. You got to put yourself first, blah, 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 blah."
Right.
And he didn't tell me that. He told me, he said, "You were wrong."
Yeah.
He said, "That was probably the most selfish thing you could have possibly done."
Yeah.
He's like, "You need to go back home, crawl back in that house to your wife, and beg for forgiveness. You should have never asked your wife to pick between you or her mother."
Yeah.
He was like, "The good Lord has you here for a reason. We don't know what that reason is, but he's putting an obstacle in front of you. Are you going to make that an opportunity?" And I hung up the phone and I sat there and I was like, "Gosh darn it, Scott, that is not what I was wanting you to tell me." But I came home. I apologized to my wife and my oldest daughter, let them say their piece. And I told myself that day, I said, "I will not break.
Yeah.
I will find a way to persevere." And it became you were talking earlier about, as men, how we hold things in. I grew up in a time where you were taught men don't show emotion.
Of
You
course.
just do what you got to do, get it done.
Right.
Nobody cares.
That's right.
One of the things my dad used to tell me as a kid, because I grew up in a broken home, and one of the things my dad used to tell me as a kid was, "Son, kids were made to be seen, not heard. Go outside."
Go outside. Yep.
And that instilled in me in a very young age that he don't want to hear about me. Well, why if my own father doesn't want to hear me talking and me tell him what a bad day I've had as a ninth grader
Right.
or something like that,
Right.
then why would the rest of the world care? And
Yeah.
so that's one of the things the men group focuses on, is things that you may have experienced as a child or a teenager that has actually traumatized you in the back of your mind, but you buried it so deep that you're not allowing it to come out and address those demons. And so for me, the biggest thing is my wife and I, we have now come to the agreement that when we're in these moments, we're going to talk to each other and we're going to tell each other exactly how we're feeling. If she hurts my feelings, I'm going to tell her, "You hurt my feelings, and this is how it made me feel." Or if I hurt her feelings, she tells me the same thing.
Yeah.
We've learned that for this marriage to work and continue to work, we have to communicate, and we can't hide from it.
That's right. We did a show some years ago on the fair fighting rules. And that was one of the key things. And I think that's something that really helped within my own marriage when we started going through those rules and replacing, instead of saying you always do X, you always instead, well, this is how you made me feel,
Right.
And replacing words and not trying to make somebody feel small when in those, but just like, hey, this, I don't like this, when you do X, it makes me feel a certain way. I don't like that,
Right.
and so I think that makes such a difference, and you got to have that communication barrier, and that's one of the things that will always keep a relationship strong. As long as you have good communication between you and your spouse, it's destined to work.
You have to understand that people do care.
Yeah.
They might not show it, but people do care. Not everybody, not everybody's good people, but
Right.
that once I discovered and to go back to the taking care of Granny into social media, that's what that's done for me. So I talked about how I started documenting it, just journaling it.
Yeah.
And then I'd been posting on TikTok for a couple of years, just random stupid stuff. And one day I posted a very sincere video where I was struggling. It was a tough morning. I'm sitting there drinking my coffee, and I was like, if you've never been a caregiver for someone with dementia, you have no idea how stressful this can be, and so on and so forth. And the video got like 30,000 views and, a few hundred comments, and people started coming out of the woodwork saying, hey, I'm a caregiver. I know exactly what you're going through. I've been there, brother, or I'm in it right now. I don't know what to do. And I thought at the time, nobody understands what we're going through.
Right.
We're alone. We're on an island here. Nobody cares.
Absolutely.
And I was so wrong. And then one day, it was, I guess you could say almost 3 years ago now, I posted a video. I took a video of Granny and I trying to have a conversation. It was an Easter morning. We were getting ready to go to church. And, she's busybody, wide open. And I was like, hey, Granny, come here. Let me talk to you. I was like, we're going to church this morning. And do you remember what church is about or what Easter is for? And she was, it's just a conversation we had. And I posted the video and it went viral. To this day, it's like at 11 million views.
Wow.
And the followers started coming. And I was like, okay. So I started posting more videos about the struggles. And people were, in the beginning, it was nothing but good advice. And so and the messages I was getting, you have no idea how much your videos are helping me. I'm taking care of my brother or my husband or my mother or my father. And seeing you with your challenges helps me see I'm not alone because I'm going through either the same challenges or something very similar to it. And so it became, the documenting on Social Journey, it was a replacement of my journaling. And it allowed me to show everyone the stress and everything that came along with it. And it showed me I'm not alone. There's over, and I want to say someone said it was either 30,000 or 300,000. I know that's a big difference, but I'm having a mind blank right now. Families in South Carolina, I think it's 30,000. Over 30,000 families in South Carolina right now that someone is a caregiver in that household for someone else.
Wow.
That's just South Carolina.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And I think it's something that a lot of us, we don't think about. And, my wife and I, we purposely bought this house with the mindset of one day that we may have to be caregivers because, my mother's getting older, my wife's mother is getting older, her father's getting older. And one day that it may come down to that we have to be the ones to take care of them. And so we purposely built this house in a way to where we can have that set up, and we're already looking at our next property, and it's certain requirements that we have for this house so that way we're in that space where we can do that. And a lot of people, when it happens, they're not prepared. And you just never know when that opportunity is going to come or present itself, and you don't want it to, and you pray that it never has to happen. But you never know. One day it just may, and you just got to be prepared for it.
I never thought of it. When as I was getting older, and my wife and I got married and everything, and we were having children, I wasn't there. Nowhere in my mind was I thinking, okay, in X amount of years, we're probably going to be taking care of her parents or my parents or whatever the case may be. That thought never entered my mind. And so that was another reason why it was a complete shock to me when she did move in. I was like, I can't believe we're having to take care. We're getting, like you said earlier, we're getting closer to being empty nesters. And it's when you've got someone with Alzheimer's or dementia, it's a lot like having a toddler in your home.
Yeah.
The only difference between a toddler and granny is a toddler's brain is still developing. A toddler can go over to the outlet and want to stick a fork in the outlet, and you clap your hands. No, don't do that.
No, right.
You tell them no, and after a few times, they figure it out. Okay, I'm not supposed to do this.
Right.
Granny can't do that.
Right.
If Granny was to go over to an outlet and want to stick a fork in the outlet, I could yell no, no, no. She's just going to look at me and say heavy, 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 and stick the fork in because she doesn't understand. And she's not going to understand tomorrow or the day after that or the day after that because her brain is not developing anymore. It's doing the complete opposite.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, man. That is real. That is real tough. I mean, and enlightening to kind of just hear that and just understand that side of it, man.
Well, the other danger is a toddler can't reach everything. Granny can.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story. This was before she failed the first time. So she has this thing with her hair. She keeps her hair extremely short. Even when you go back to the first time she got married, she had extremely short hair. And she doesn't like for her hair to touch her ears or her collar. Well, one morning, my wife left to go to work early. It was just me and Granny. I was waiting on the caregiver to get here. And Granny become fixated on this piece of hair that was touching her ear. And so she come in there and asked me to cut it. And I was like, Granny, I'm not cutting your hair. But when Miss Deborah gets here, I'll ask her to take you to get your hair cut. And she walked away. Well, a few minutes later, I walk in the kitchen. She's in there with a pair of scissors getting ready to cut her hair.
Oh.
And so I was like, no, let me have him. So I grabbed the scissors. They were like kitchen scissors. So I grabbed the scissors and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and put them in the safe. I had a safe in the bedroom beside the bed. So her and I both walk out of the kitchen, and to get to my office, which we had to convert to her bedroom at the time, you had to walk through my bedroom to get to this room. So we both walk into my room. I go to the opposite side of the bed. I put the scissors in the safe. I close the safe, and I hear, Jesus, help me, help me, help me. And I turn around and look, and you could smell it. And you could see the smoke coming up off her head.
Oh,
and I was like, what just happened? So I come running in here, and immediately I knew what had happened. She had burnt her hair. She had a lighter, and she tried to burn that piece of hair off. And she wears a ton of hairspray, and her hand was full of hairspray, and it singed the whole side of her head.
Oh my gosh.
That's what you got to worry about when you're taking care of someone with Alzheimer's or dementia. Their inability to understand what can cause danger to them.
Wow. We are running low on time for this episode, but one last thing we got to do, which is called the last word.
And now, the last word.
So through this journey that you're going on, what would you want your viewers, your followers to take away from watching the journey with you and Granny and your family?
Two things. Number one, not everyone can be a full-time caregiver.
Right.
There's a lot of people who tell me I couldn't do it, and I feel so bad. I had to put my mom or my dad into an assisted living home.
Yeah.
It's okay. Don't be mad at yourself. Don't be down on yourself.
Right.
This takes a lot out of a person. The good Lord has blessed us to the point where we're able to do what we can do.
Yeah.
That could all change tomorrow. So if you can't be a full-time caregiver and you have to put your loved one into an assisted living or memory care facility, it's okay. You do what you feel is best for them in your heart.
Yeah.
And then number two, this was something I wish I would have realized so much sooner. You have to meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
And when I say that, what I'm saying is they don't live in your reality anymore. You can't fix them. You can't fix the situation. You have to meet them where they're at. Don't correct them. Don't tell them that they're wrong. Don't argue with them. Don't fight with them. Meet them where they're at. That's why when you watch the videos, I talk back to Granny in what I call Granny language. Granny talks to me a certain way. I talk that same way back to her. And it's like she understands it. So that's the two things. Don't be too hard on yourself. Do what you know is best for your loved one. And the second one is meet them where they're at because they don't live in your world anymore.
Wow. Share with the Manspace Nation the Facebook site and Instagram site or TikTok site to be able to follow.
Yep. So on Facebook and TikTok has the same name. I uniformed them so it was easier to find. Both pages are called Taking Care of Granny. The Facebook page is verified, so look for the blue check mark. TikTok, unfortunately, is not verified. I've tried many times to get it verified, but they won't do it. Don't fall for the spammers. Look for the one that has the most followers, and that's the original one.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with us, man. This has been a very fast hour, but
Yes.
I tell you, I have so much respect for you and your wife and your family for standing up and taking care of Granny, and I wish you guys nothing but the best. And I know that you do a lot more than just that. I mean, there's a lot of charitable activities and things like that you're involved with as well. And we didn't even get a chance to touch on any of that stuff.
Right.
But it's just so much, man. And I really have a lot of respect for you and what you're doing. And we're going to have to sit down and continue this conversation another time, man. But I definitely appreciate you spending some time here with the Manspace podcast.
Russ, I appreciate it, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to come on here. And if you want to do a part 2 to the series,
Yeah.
I'll be more than happy to join you again.
Absolutely. Manspace Nation, we'll be right back with our closeout. As we do each week, we like to close the show with just a little bit of inspiration. You see, dedication isn't about feeling motivated every single day, because let's be honest, some days motivation hits the snooze button and that alarm clock just doesn't go back off. Dedication is about showing up anyway. It's doing the work even when the mood is off, the coffee isn't strong enough, and the couch is calling your name like it has your best interest at heart. Dedication is choosing progress over comfort. It's the quiet decisions to keep going when nobody else is clapping, liking, or sharing your post. It's the discipline to take one more step, even when quitting feels easier or sometimes way more logical. But see, here's the funny part. Dedication doesn't ask you to be perfect. It just asks you to be consistent. You don't have to sprint every day. Sometimes a strong walk counts just as much. What dedication builds over time is something powerful. It builds trust in yourself. You start believing that if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. With that confidence, it changes how you show up everywhere else in your life. So today, if that goal feels so far away, remember that dedication was built one choice at a time, not the flashy ones, the small, ordinary, and sometimes boring ones. So Manspace Nation, keep showing up, keep moving forward, and staying dedicated. Until next time. Manspace Nation, what are you dedicated to? Sometimes it's that family member, it's your job, it's your, maybe just trying to lose weight or the focus that you need to do something special. But it's always done one choice at a time, one simple choice at a time. But hey, here's a choice that you guys have. Monday nights on WTMS TV. You can catch this episode and every new episode of the Manspace podcast 2 days early on WTMSTV.com, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then on Thursdays on WTMSTV.com. It is Throwback Thursdays with back-to-back episodes of the Manspace podcast. So you can catch that, and then we'll find out maybe next week how Les's tryout for with Indiana turned out. And until then, Manspace Nation, we out of here.
No gimmicks, just game that my sure in sight. They shine like the city on a Friday night. Man talk, real talk, that's the way that you bless. Giving knowledge and some laughs in the same finesse. From life goes to the jokes that hit. They the tag team champs, yeah, legit with the wit. So pull up a chair, let the stress digest. From the beat drops, you know the rest. You go chillin' with Russ and Les.